2 losses, players getting called idiots, coaches retracting those statements, Carson Beck falling apart. Do you think Georgia is desperate? And then we'll get into whether or not that helps or hurts the Bulldogs. Do you think Georgia is desperate? Are they on the verge of collapse?
Yes. They are desperate. They're desperate for a few reasons. They don't have the chemistry and the type of culture that Nick Saban had as a program. I don't want to say they have the culture Florida had as a program, but I will say this, Dave. You covered the SEC title game where Alabama just beat the heck out of Florida, right? When Florida was number 1. And
yes, where Urban Meyer had a panic attack after the game.
Was that not the most changing of the guard?
Yeah.
Game in the
it was, you're right. It was that one of those that, and you really realized it during and after the game, how much bigger and more physical that Alabama was. But you also realized it in the 48 hours after, because you had Urban Meyer having health issues, which was quite an interesting turn of events, considering Nick Saban had just beat the pants off of him. I'm going to say this. I think Kirby Smart is too good of a coach for Georgia to be desperate. And he has gotten teams to a good level and not won a championship before. So I think they'll keep fighting. But our poll question is, do you think Georgia is desperate? It's today's tough question, brought to you by Dynasty Pools and Spas, the Athens exit. Just stop by and say hello. Free prize from Off the Hook Sports. Yes, on the verge of collapse, 94%. No, Smart is too good of a coach. A very small amount of the voting going my direction. Now, I ask you this. If Georgia is desperate, does that help or hurt the Vols, Caleb?
Well, I wanted to get to what I was going to say real quick first on
Okay,
why it was changing of the guard. The reason it was changing of the guard is because Florida was the biggest bully on the playground, and they got their you-know-what laid out. And so you guys know this from schoolyards. When the bully gets laid out by somebody, he's never a threat again, right? He becomes a laughingstock at that point, and then he wilts and melts and collapses, and that's what happened to Florida. Georgia's been the bully on the playground, and unlike Alabama, they've acted like it. They have basically said, we don't care about discipline. We are Georgia. We own everybody. If Tennessee beats Georgia this weekend, the reason I say Georgia could be desperate is that would be a changing of the guard moment, because the biggest bully on the playground has 3 losses at that moment. And then they collapse and they can implode. But I will say to you, Dave, you're right. I think it could help Georgia and hurt Tennessee, because I think they know this, and I think they are desperate. And I mean, they're called the Bulldogs. Have you ever been around a dog desperate, thinking it's fighting for its life?
No, but
those dogs are dangerous.
No, but my buddy had a bulldog, and they have the worst gastrointestinal issues.
Oh, they do. I didn't say a bulldog. No. Have you ever been around?
I was like, dude, you got to get rid of this thing. Thankfully, this sounds awful, but thankfully it was so inbred it didn't live long.
Have you? Yeah, it's kind of sad what happens with bulldogs. But have you ever, like, honestly on this, have you ever been on it with a regular dog? I'll just give you a quick story. My dog was on leash with me one time. He's okay. He's fine. But somebody forgot to shut the gate for with their pit bull in the backyard. And the pit bull wasn't friendly with dogs. And the pit bull ran at my dog and attacked my dog. We actually got them separated. My dog was still trying to attack that pit bull that probably could have killed it if we got it separated. Because why? He felt desperate. Dogs are super dangerous when they feel desperate, guys. They will absolutely rip you to shreds, even if it will kill them in the process.
I really believe that Georgia's sense of invulnerability, is that a word, was taken away last week by Ole Miss.
And you don't want that if you're Tennessee.
Well, and I think it was very interesting that Lane Kiffin, I think you kind of do. I think you look at, listen, everybody I've talked to, they want to say both on and off the record, Georgia's Georgia. They're still good, different jerseys, but they're not. I mean, they're just not. That's the right thing to say, and that's the right culture to have, but they're just not. And I think that Ole Miss knocked off that vulnerability because Georgia was semi-desperate in that game because they already had a loss. So I think Tennessee goes into this game not thinking that these are the big bad Bulldogs. They're thinking this is another team. And you talk about desperate and motivation, and all these are secondary to winning championships. But, we talked to Cooper Mays about it on the Vol Report, and it would mean something, I think, for any player to leave a university and not go winless against a key rival. I mean, you have to think about that in your legacy. What do we always say about Peyton Manning? He never beat Florida. Never beat Florida.
I mean, Andy Kelly, in every interview he's ever done, he's like, what's your only regret in life? He's like, that I never beat Alabama. Like, he's like, if I could just go back and beat Alabama one time.
Only regret in life? Well, he's made a lot
of
good decisions.
I think it's his regret in, like, his football career.
Right. I'm just thinking, if my only regret in life is that I've lost 4 games to a team, then I've made a lot of prudent decisions. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I agree. Can we at least point out, though, here's the thing, and how do you do when you are desperate? Look, Tennessee, because people are saying that, you talk about the sense of invulnerability. I thought the sense of invulnerability being knocked out would help Tennessee after they lost to Arkansas, but then they go around and almost lose to Florida the next week. So you can really respond in different ways. I will be honest about that. I think more with Georgia. Are they desperate? Yes. I'm kind of on your side, though, in terms of the talent thing. The real issue with Georgia is that they're seriously banged up, and you're not in an era of college football anymore where when you're banged up or hurt, you can just replace them with another 5-star that would start on any other team in college football. That's what Georgia and Alabama did for the last 15 years.
I'll tell you what I want to do. Today's tough question brought to you by Dynasty Pools and Spas. I want to get Ollie Lane's take. Give me a minute, and then we'll get the former Vols take on Georgia being more vulnerable this year than back in 2022, a game in which he played. For Dynasty Pools and Spas, your home for the best spas and everything you need to jump right in. Relaxing? Therapeutic? Absolutely. But what sets Dynasty Pools and Spas apart from others is that you get everything with any spa purchase. You get the cover lift, the steps, delivery, and chemicals. When Dynasty Pools and Spas delivers your spa from their Athens location within 125 miles, you'll get your own personal hydrotherapy spa. Mention me, Dave Hooker, or Off the Hook Sports, and get $500 off your top quality new spa. Dynasty Pools and Spas, just off the Athens exit. Drop in and receive a free gift from Off the Hook Sports, Dynasty Pools and Spas. Mention Off the Hook Sports for a drop-in prize and that $500 discount, Dynasty Pools and Spas. To check out some of the Dynasty Spa models and to buy spa chemicals, go to dynastypoolsandspas.com. Dynasty Pools and Spas. All right, let's bring this guy in here right now. Ollie Lane. Ollie, I'm running all over the place as far as clock management, so my apologies.
No, you're good.
It's less miles level clock management.
Yeah, it's just I'm like the Jeremy Pruitt of hosts. Anyway, Ollie just drops his head. Ollie, who has the psychological advantage in this game, which is largely overdone, but is it Georgia is either desperate or they're vulnerable? How do you look at it from a psychological perspective?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, when you're looking at it, this Georgia team, they take another loss, they're out of the playoff race for good. And, obviously that's going to add that sense of desperation to them. And I think this is after, losing to Ole Miss, they're a little bit, I'm sure they're mad, fired up, ready to go. But one thing that I think is key to look at is, the Alabama game, they fought the second half, didn't finish it, couldn't win. Ole Miss game, they fought in the second half, couldn't finish it, didn't win. If they get in a situation where they have to fight in the second half again from behind, I feel like this might be a team that rolls over at this point, third time getting in that situation, and they might just roll over at that point because they haven't been able to do it before. They're banged up. They've got a lot of different guys that aren't fully 100% ready to go. And like you guys were talking about before, that talent gap that them and the Nick Sabans of the world had a hold on for the past few years of college football, it's gone now with the introduction of NIL and the recruitment efforts of everybody else around the country. I mean, talent is getting more and more spread out across the country. You could see it a lot this season. So, I mean, Georgia, to think next man up mentality, that's not been as strong suit for them as it has been in the past. And this is a team to me that's now in desperation mode, that has the possibility of quitting if they hit too much adversity again.
It's an interesting thing you said. And I want to ask you too about Kirby Smart calling one of his players an idiot publicly, how that might go over in a locker room. Again, poor clock management on my part. Peak IV hydration, South Knoxville and Sevierville, live life to the fullest. Hydrate, rejuvenate, and elevate your health with Peak IV hydration. They bring you the Warren Report on Monday with Jacob Warren, and in part Ollie Lane, which I haven't come up with a clever name yet, but I'll work on that.